Hi guys, today we're going to be talking a little bit of conspiracy. Specifically, we're going to be talking about the medical intervention that many people were forced to take during and just after lockdown. And why talk about this? Because I'm sure that most of you watching these videos, or many of you have taken the thing, and it's 4 years later, so now why talk about it now? Is it that I told you so? No, as you will see, it's about seeing things in context, seeing things from the greater perspective, and when the powers that be, when the archons, the top-down controllers, try to do something like this again, to understand the rules of the game and to see clearly. That's all I'm doing here. I will also give out remedies as well as, things that can help with your energetic state if indeed you did take the intervention. So when lockdown hit, many of us intuitively felt that we were not going to take this thing, right? But the powers that be, the programs, the news, everything was absolutely geared to guilt trip people into taking it. So I just want to tell you, I'm going to change some of the words around so that this video is not flagged, right? So this is called problem, reaction, solution. So if you want to control a populace, there are a few steps that you have to take. First, you have to create an enemy. This enemy has to be vague, opaque, see-through, right? And then you have to divide people. And once you divide people, you really, really scare them. And once they are scared out of their wits, you bring the solution. And then when they take this solution, then everything will go back to normal. This has happened with many other false flags and backup false flags in our news and in our world for thousands of years. So lockdown was not any different, but it was different in the sense that for the first time in written history, this was a worldwide event. So let's talk about the thing. Firstly, it is not, and I'm not going to say the word, it is not, right? It is not. It is gene therapy, because how this thing works is it has synthetic mRNA that is then injected into the body, and this then convinces the cell to make spike protein, right? And then the white blood cells of your body will then recognize the spike. So when you actually get the disease, then the theory would be that the white blood cells would then attack the virus because it's in your body, because it would recognize the spike. So there are many issues with this. Firstly, a normal vaccine would give you a little bit of inert virus, right? So you would have inert virus injected into your arm, and then the biodistribution of this would basically just remain in your arm, and then the white blood cells would then recognize that when the full virus comes into your body, or more of the virus comes into your body. So this is better because firstly, the whole virus is being addressed, not just the spike, okay? So what would happen if you blanket vaccinate people during a pandemic with what is called a leaky vax? In other words, just the spike is being addressed, not the entire virus. This would put evolutionary strain on just the spike to evolve, because if it evolves, then the white blood cells would not recognize it anymore. This then would lead to a proliferation of variants. So many doctors, and now I've forgotten his name, Gert van der Bosch, I think, or is it Gert van Aert? But anyway, many people said that this would happen, and then they just lost tenure. They were taken off Wikipedia. They were called conspiracy theorists. Even people who were involved in the making and the development of this so-called vaccine lost their livelihoods when they stood up against it. So that's the first problem. It's a leaky thing, so the whole thing is not being addressed, and this leads to a proliferation of variants. The second problem is because it is synthetic mRNA, the biodistribution does not just stay in your arm and that's it, right? But all of the cells of the entire body is now convinced by synthetic mRNA to create this spike protein. The spike is then all over your entire body, within all your cells. These spikes break off and they go sit in your veins, and they create blood clots because the platelets in your blood then go and sit around these spike proteins. Also, with some people, the synthetic mRNA never switched off, so the body is still continuing to make the spike protein. And this leads to, or can lead to, myocarditis, pericarditis, neurological issues, as well as blood clots and aggressive cancers, very aggressive cancer. So a lot of this has been proven. I am not, just saying things to say things. So if you have taken the thing, pine needle tea, very good for you. Zeolite, very good for you. But pine needle tea especially, as well as ivermectin. If we also look at what happened with regards to ivermectin, immediately if people just mentioned ivermectin, everyone would say, oh no, but that is cow medicine, and how can you take cow medicine? But this is the egregore, this is the hypernorm, this is the matrix programming that immediately goes into an ad hominem attack. What did we say in the previous video? Attacking the person, not the argument, right? So ivermectin is not a person, but it was attacked. It was called, a cow medicine, instead of actually looking at what it is and seeing how it works, right? So why am I bringing this up? Because if you can see this problem, reaction, solution thing, then you will be able to see it in future. There are also spiritual elements to this thing that's very important. As I mentioned in, I think, my second video, the sun, the coronal mass ejections are picking up speed. This has a direct influence on our DNA, and if you have the synthetic mRNA within your system, then it's more difficult for your DNA to upgrade with these light codes coming in from the sun. So as I said, not to worry, definitely pine needle tea, zeolite, ivermectin, but also energetically, right? If you are more prone to fall for matrix programming, in other words, if you are more prone to fear, then this is something you need to look at. And if you can look at this, and how do we work on this? We do shadow work, we do forgiveness, we take radical personal responsibility, we read, we educate ourselves, because if you look at what they said during lockdown, it was trust the science, right? Now, the word science should never have the article the in front of it, because by its very nature, empiricism, or science specifically, has to be questioned. If you can't question science, it's not science, right? It's propaganda. So those of you who took the thing, you now know what to do. Not everyone got the thing, by the way. People got placebos. Also, we were told that it would stop the spread of the virus. We were told that it would stop people from getting sick, and none of that was true at the end of the day. But now people just want to forget about it and move on, and that's fine. I know we don't want to rub it in, but when another wave of this comes, in whatever form, if you can see problem, reaction, solution, then you can be free from it. Also, if we want validation from others, and if we want to be in the herd, and if we don't want to stand out, we are more susceptible to matrix programming. So being willing to rock the boat, being willing to lose everything, actually, because many people lost a lot by saying no, and I'm sending love to those people. You know who you are. So guys, this is the message for today. Love to all of you. And yes, go look at DNA activations. Also look at CRISPR. CRISPR is a very interesting, tiny little genetic, that's new. So go look at that and go look at problem, reaction, solution. Thank you, everyone. See you soon.